Vote with your fork. I suspect that reading this book will complicate your eating life. Writing it certainly complicated mine. And we're not alone. Sometimes I meet people who tell me that they liked my book, but they couldn't finish it. That's not what a writer ever wants to hear, so I always ask them, why not? Because in every chapter I learn about something I shouldn't eat anymore. I'm afraid that if I get to the end, there won't be anything left to eat and I'll starve. Hearing this Hearing this kind of thing from readers makes me appreciate that, in some ways, the omnivore dilemma has deepened people's dilemmas about food. Do I feel bad about that? Not really. It's always better to know more rather than less, even when that knowledge complicates your life. Luckily, there are still plenty of things out there that are good to eat, and by good, I mean not only delicious but healthy, good for us, but also good for the world, for the environment, for the workers who produce the food, and in the case of meat or dairy, for the animals involved. One of the strongest reactions to the book is from people who tell me that they became vegetarians after reading it. The omnivore's dilemma definitely creates a lot of vegetarians, but what's more surprising has been to hear from former vegetarians who tell me that after reading about Joel Salton's farm, they started eating meat again. Why? Because they didn't realize that there were farms where the animals got to live good lives, eat the food they were meant to eat, and then suffer only that one bad day right at the end of their lives. It was possible, they discovered, to eat meat with a clear conscience. So I'm guessing that the number of new vegetarians inspired by the book has been balanced out by the number of new carnivores. But whichever conclusion readers come to, they are more thoughtful about their choices. They act now out of knowledge rather than ignorance, and that's the most important thing. Ignorance is not bliss, at least not if you're a person who cares about the health of your body and the world. Since I wrote this book, my family has changed the way we eat in many ways. I've lost my appetite for feedlot meat, and so have they. We used to enjoy a fast food meal now and then, and even today, my 16-year-old son Isaac, when you meet him in the book, at the McDonald's meal, he was only 11, likes the occasional chicken nugget. But what he's learned from me about those animals live in feedlots and about what's in those chicken nuggets has made him think twice about eating fast food on a regular basis. He's completely lost his appetite for Big Macs and Whoppers, and he has stopped drinking soda except on special occasions. My family also eats much less meat than we used to, and when we do eat it, we get it from farms or ranches or companies we know enough to trust. We only buy grass fed beef, which we can find in local markets. It's becoming increasingly common. And sometimes we buy it directly from a rancher. You can find farms selling pastured meat and milk in your area at eatwild.com. In the case of the plant based foods, we usually buy organic or local, and ideally, both. I think organic fruits and vegetables taste better, and I also like the idea that my food dollars are supporting farmers who care about the land. We also try to stop at farmers markets as often as possible. The food there is picked fresh, which means it is at the peak of its taste and nutritional quality, and every dollar goes directly to the farmers. If this all sounds like a lot more trouble than buying whatever's on sale at the supermarket, you're right. It also costs a little more, but I think it's worth it. It's amazing how knowing the story behind your food can make it taste better, or if it's a bad story, worse. But I also enjoy meeting farmers at the farmers market and seeing how my food dollar can help build a new food chain in America, one devoted to health at every step, to the health of the land, the health of the plants and animals, and the health of my family and the health of my community. I call shopping and eating this way voting with your fork. How you and your family choose to spend your food dollars represents one of the most powerful votes you have. You can vote to support the kind of feedlot where steer number 534 spent his miserable life, or you can vote for farms like Polyface where animals live the lives they were meant to. The land is healed in the process and the farmers make a decent living. That kind of alternative farm was created not only by visionary farmers like Joel Salton, but by visionary consumers like you. I've never liked to think of myself as a mere consumer. The word sounds like someone who uses things up and diminishes the world, and very often that's exactly what a consumer does. But a consumer can be a creator too. By using his or her eating choices to help build a new food chain, that is a potent vote, and you get three of them every day. But perhaps best of all, when it comes to food, you don't have to wait till you're 18 to start voting. You can start today and your next meal. That doesn't mean we're going to get that vote every time or at every meal. We won't. Sometimes there are no good alternatives to vote for. Sometimes you're just going to want a Big Mac. There will be those special occasions when you crave that all. Cold cup of high fructose corn syrup, I mean soda. But there's a big difference between the special splurge and the everyday habit. And the problem these days is that fast food has, for many of us, become everyday food. You don't have to go cold turkey, just put fast food back in its place, a special occasion food. And when you're eating it, think about what you now know about your meal. How's it taste now? If you can cast your food vote consciously using once or twice a day, you will be doing a lot for the farmers, for the animals, for the environment, and for your own health. I know you won't make all the food decisions in your household, but you have more influence than you realize. Ever since you were little, pestering your mom to buy the cool new cereal you saw on TV, or tossing it in the shopping cart when she wasn't looking, you've had a major impact on how your family's food dollars get spent. So, what about using that influence in a new way? Say, by encouraging your parents to shop at the farmers market or join the CSA. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. These are local farms that families join for a few $100s a year. In return, they get weekly boxes of fresh produce. It's often cheaper than shopping at the farmers market and can even be cheaper than your local supermarket. And then offer to help your parents to cook a couple of nights a week or take over one whole night yourself. Cooking for your family is a great way to influence how they eat. Voting with your fork at school can be a challenge, but it's worth trying to do. How a school spends its food dollars can have a tremendous impact on the whole food system. In many schools today, students and parents are working together to improve the food service, to take away the soda machines. Why should these companies be allowed to tempt you at school? To encourage cafeterias to serve real food made from scratch, rather than just a microwave chicken nugget and tater tots, and even to teach classes on how to grow and cook food for yourself. Physical education is already a mandatory part of your school day, after all, so why not eating education? It's just as important to your health. Is your school teaching you how to be a lifelong fast food junkie, or is it teaching you the importance and the pleasure of eating real food at real meals? It's an exciting time to be an eater in America. You have choices today that your parents couldn't have dreamed of. Organic, local, CSAs, humanely raised milk and meat. When they were your age, there were basically only one way of feeding yourself, from the industrial food chain. And you have the option of eating from a very different food chain. You can vote with your fork for a better world, one delicious bite at a time.